Welcome to Weapons Wednesday, the show that constantly eggs my inner monologue to dare me to do something dangerous. It's honestly a miracle I still have fingers to begin with. And today is definitely one of those days. We are going to be talking about 4 different types of throwing knives in this video. Taking them out to throw, putting them to the test, and seeing which one is ultimately the best for you. But before we get started, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know, make sure to always check your local laws as far as how weapons go. I know certain countries and certain states and certain even cities can have different laws on different weapons. And so make sure that it's not only legal to have in your state, but if you plan on using these weapons to use as self-defense, make sure it's also legal to use for self-defense as well. We are going to start off with my favorite knives of the bunch, the Dragon Fury throwing knives. And honestly, these are truly my favorite of the bunch, but let me tell you a little bit about these guys. These are going to be made out of a matte black 3CR13 stainless steel and going to be a full tang with a center balance point in the blade. This is going to help you get a really solid spin on your throw, which will help you sink into your target more times than not. And the blades, as many KarateMart weapons do, come out the box sharp and ready to go, with this being a double spear point blade, meaning the spear point is the shape of the blade here, and the double is obviously that it's going to be sharp on both sides of the weapon. This makes it great for throwing because as it spins, you're going to be able to make sure no matter which direction you hit it in, it's going to stick into the target, but it also makes it great for using as a melee weapon so that you can cut in both directions without having to make sure you look at the weapon to figure out what side your edge is on. Plus, spear points are just an iconic design in my opinion. They're one of the best ones. Speaking of design, we have the handle, which is textured, and it comes in 3 different colored dragon prints, blue, yellow, and green, which I think makes the entire thing look really, really nice. It gives it a very unique design that stands out when you're throwing them on it. I mean, obviously, when you use them, it'll stand out in your hand, but even when you throw them and have to go find them, like let's say you miss the target or you miss your throw and it bounced and hit the ground, that color helps it pop a little bit more, making it that much easier to find because, as we all know, looking for certain knives or darts or stars in the grass can be very, very difficult. And as far as the specs goes, these 3-ounce knives, give or take, is gonna come in at about 8.5 inches long from bottom to tip, and that blade being 4.5 of those inches, so just a little bit over half, which again makes it a great weapon and a great choice because you get to use them as melee daggers as well as throwing weapons. And since it comes with 3 in its nylon carrying case that all of these knives come with, you're able to take the first one, throw it at your target, and then use the second 2 as combat knives until you need to throw or get into a different situation. I just really love these knives, and so let's go outside and test them. So these are my favorites, honestly, out of the group. I haven't thrown them yet, I haven't tested them out yet, but just by design alone, I love these. And so let's test them. My guess is that they're gonna, because of how wide these things are and how thin they are, any kind of rotation is really going to throw off the spin of the knife. If it doesn't stay perfectly like in line, it's really going to throw off because it might catch the air. That's often why you see a lot of bore holes in knives. It's also for weight distribution as well. So we're going to see how good these knives are at actually throwing. They're pretty solid for just fighting with because of that big handle. But let's see how good these are for throwing. Ooh. There we go. That was pretty solid. Ooh, 2, okay. For the first round, got 2 out of 3. The first one was kind of just me testing the waters, and then I was able to hone in a little bit. They're actually pretty easily to sink into your target, and this is not an easy target to sink into. There we go. 1, 2. That should have stuck, but you know, it's a mat. So 3. Ooh, that one was real deep. We're gonna actually come a little closer so you guys can see that stuck incredibly deep in here, which is really good. Like that is an excellent sharpness. And these are just out of the box levels of sharp. Like they're not they're not extra sharpened. I didn't take any sharpening kit to these things at all. This is out the box. And for them to stick this consistently and this deep into your target, especially a target like this that's rubbery and bouncy and not as rigid as like a tree or a piece of wood would be, they're excellent knives. And I think I thought these were going to be my favorites, and I continue to think that these are my favorite knives because, ooh, the satisfying stick is just so nice. Like, it's really fun to use, and if you're looking for a nice knife that can easily stick into whatever targets you need for beginner, intermediate, or advanced just leisurely throwing, these are great. And the fact that they can double really nicely as a hand-to-hand combat knife, I love this knife. This is my favorite of the set for sure. Next, we have the heavy hitters of the bunch, the professional black throwing knives. These 10-inch knives weigh in at approximately 7 ounces, and that 4mm thick blade will definitely do some damage when they stick into whatever it is you're throwing them at. I mean, just the weight alone will do some damage. Whether you hit them with the blade in or the blunt in, you will do some serious damage with a knife that heavy going in and attacking someone's head or some other vital area on their body. And that's really the scariest thing about this set of knives, is that they're massive, right? So you could use them as combat knives, with is it always a benefit in my opinion, simply because if I have knives, I don't just want to be able to just throw them. I want to be able to use them as tools and use them as weapons as well in any situation. And so having knives that you can throw, one, and still have two that you can use however you need to get the job done is a great thing. And since the blade is only 3.5 out of those 10 inches, it leaves plenty of space for hands of all sizes to use as, you know, a combat implement. And as many other KarateMart weapons, it comes out the box, and so these sharp double-edged blades will be able to do damage immediately as soon as you get them. And since they're crafted from stainless steel, they won't bend much, and they will be incredibly strong against most situations. And more importantly, they won't rust over time very easily, allowing you to practice throwing them outside, getting them dirty or muddy by accident, or, you know, getting them in the elements without having to worry about rust to any significant degree. It can get dirty and still be usable at the end of the day. And so for anyone out there with a bug out bag of apocalypse gear, with stuff they may need to use that is gonna have to be durable to last in the elements, this is a great addition. And just like all the rest, the black nylon carrying case will be able to strap to your belt for ease of use and ease of retrieval whenever you need them in a pinch. And as the modern ninja, having the matte black look into my weapons is just a benefit. It's my personal style. I get why some people may love the silver or other things like that, but that black just stands out great. It's my favorite color, second to having that red and black mix. That's also really good. Now we're gonna put these guys to the test here, and I'm gonna throw as many as I can until I get a couple that stick and a good idea of how they feel when they're actually being thrown and released from your hand, and whether or not, oh, that was dumb. That was my, the voice in my head taking over for a second. And get a good feel for if they're gonna do damage when you throw them, if they're gonna really injure people. And honestly, with how these are weighted, my guess is that regardless of if you hit them with the blade end or the back end, they're gonna do some damage regardless. But let's find out. For those of you that wanna know, this is a floor mat of my martial arts school, actually, that we had extras because we ran out of space and we filled up the floor. So now I get to use the floor mat to stick in weapons. I use this often. I've used these for the testing the ninja stars, and I'm gonna throw these knives. I've used them many times. It's a little bit different than wood. It's not as rigid, so in order to get it to stick into these, you really have to be on the money. It's a lot easier to stick it into something like wood for those of you wanting to throw and get into throwing yourselves, but just putting that out there for all of you to know. These might bounce back, so always, always, always be careful when you decide to throw. Ooh, that was a stick, but it was a little heavy. Again, that was a stick, but it was a little bit bouncy. I feel like if I put a little bit more power into it, I might get a good stick. There we go. That's a good stick. That's another good stick, and you see the ricochet makes them bounce out, but it's still stuck. Ooh, that one wasn't as good, but let's try one more time. There we go. It would have sucked. Again, these are heavy, and so they don't stick as easily, but because they're so heavy, if they hit something like flesh, that's gonna do some serious damage. So if you're getting these with the intent of getting your power in your throws and the power in the weapon, that's perfect. It's going to get deep into tissue really easily and do some serious damage. Next we have, like I was talking about a little bit ago, red and black being my favorite mix of colors, we have now a knife that represents that perfectly. The Dragon Venom Kunai. Before we get into the specs, I just want to look at the design for just a little bit. I love how deadly this looks and how sleek this blade looks just to the naked eye. Having the X carves out of the center of the handle, and then having it be able to have that finger ring so you can use it for all kinds of slightly dangerous tricks, and just being able to fidget with it as someone with ADHD and a affinity for weapons. This is my kind of thing, which is why I do a bunch of weapon tricks all the time, in case you guys didn't know, but I digress. These blades are made of black and red anodized 440 stainless steel, making them incredibly resistant to corrosion and wear and tear from the elements. And so just like the last set, having these as part of your Apocalypse gear loadout is great, because you're gonna need something that won't be made unusable and rusty from just a little bit of mud. That's just what you're gonna need. And just like one of the top blades we talked about earlier, it's gonna have that double-sided spear point blade, meaning the blades are on both sides of the device, allowing you to use these just like the others as handheld weapons, as daggers, and not have to worry about which side of the knife you're gonna use, because you're gonna be able to cut on both sides. And like I said before, that just opens up flexibility and variety as far as how you can use them effectively in combat. As far as the stats go, the ring is going to be about 1 inch in diameter, allowing most people's fingers to fit inside the knife, and the blade length is going to be in at around 6.5 inches, with 3.5 inches being the blade, and weighing in at about 1.3 ounces. All in all, making them quite light knives, but still having enough size that you can comfortably use them for combat. And this definitely gives the most ninja feel to it, with the most variety and just the design they go with. Like I said, this is a fantastic design and fits the modern ninja aesthetic to the T. And for those that don't know, like the other knives in the set, it does come with a strong nylon carrying case with a belt strap, so you can strap it on to wherever you need to do that, put your knives in, and be able to run and gun and do the things you need to do until you pull them out and are ready to use them. So these guys are really cool. Again, they match the flow I'm actually wearing right now with the red hat. I even have red shoes on, but even though I love the design of these knives and love the functionality of being able to use that ring to bounce back and forth between my combat stances, right? But I just don't know how good these are going to stick, because they don't really have the weight of some of the other knives we're reviewing today, and they don't have the sharpness that is perfect. They're not dull, but they're definitely not the sharpest out of the box compared to the other knives that we're using today. And so we're gonna see how good they are at sticking into my rubber target that, again, is not the greatest at taking targets. It's a very challenging target to stick into, which is why I have it, because it lasts a lot longer and challenges me in my knife throwing. So if you see that I'm only sticking a certain percentage of times, just know that if I were throwing into a styrofoam target or a wooden target, that percentage would probably increase based on the difficulty. Power into it. Jeez, that had some power into it. Nope. So with these guys, as you can see, I wasn't really able to get
a nice solid stick into my target. That can be fixed by sharpening them. I think if these were a little bit sharper, I would be able to just sink them every single time. And when I have some time, because I like to design so much, I will actually be sharpening these on my own and just adding them to my collection because I love throwing knives and I love practicing throwing knives. But that's just something to consider when comparing all of these knives together. I still really think these knives are excellent weapons. I love being able to hold them and still use them for combat. That's actually one of my biggest pluses when it comes to throwing knives, that I can also use them for combat. With them coming in sets of 3, I can throw one and still have 2 that I use for combat ready purposes. And then even if I really need to, I can throw another one and still have them ready for close quarters combat. And honestly, I've said this before and I'll say it again, the red and black color scheme, it's really just my favorite color scheme out there. And so adding these to my arsenal personally is gonna happen for sure.
And lastly, we have the mini Broadhead throwing knives. And unlike the previous sets that come in a set of 3, these guys are going to come in a set that holds 6 in a Velcro case. Coming in at about 5.5 inches total, that makes it so much easier to hide, whether that's hiding on your wrist, hiding in your pockets, or anywhere else you need to store your knives, allowing you to make sure that you're never caught with your pants down as far as whether or not you have a knife on you. And since they're made of that 440 stainless steel that we were talking about earlier, you can store them and not have to worry about the moisture or dirt or mud in the area. They're very durable due to them being made of stainless steel. Rust resistance is an excellent feature to have in any weapon that you plan on using. But the blades themselves are quite nice too. And just like the other weapons, they come out the box sharp and ready to use for most situations, with the blade being sharpened on both sides of the broadhead, as well as well balanced for your throwing needs with the holes drilled out of the handle. And in theory, you could even strap paracord to these guys so that you could not only throw them in a straight throw, hit your target, but you can also pull them back to retrieve them to use them in a different way or different area. Kind of like you would use rope darts almost, which I kind of want to try it out. I kind of do. But even if you don't tie it to yourself, you'll be able to easily find them in the grass or in the area that you're throwing because of that chrome finish, which is of course a popular finish for any metallic weapons. It's not my weapon, my choice finish, obviously, but that's more of a niche thing. I feel like chrome is just the iconic look of throwing weapons, or of weapons in general.
These guys I'm kind of nervous about, I'm not gonna lie. If there was a wooden target, that would be one thing, but because of how small and light these are, one, that could definitely be a benefit. You can carry them very easily anywhere on your body, pull them and throw them very quickly, and they're gonna go very fast because they're not super heavy. They also have the drill holes, they're great. But as far as throwing on this target, I'm actually kind of concerned because I'm not sure they're gonna have the weight to stick into a target like I'm throwing into. I don't really have a wooden target to test these into, and I don't really want to mess up the fences of the apartment complex I live in. But we're gonna see how well these work regardless. Ooh, a good bouncy, that's what I expected. It could hit, tip in, and that one did hit tip in, but it bounced because it's not carrying the weight, and that one wasn't the greatest of throws, but we're gonna try again. Ooh, and again, that one was a solid throw, and if it wasn't to like a soft, squishy, fleshy target or a wooden target, I think that would have stuck pretty easily. These are really nice as far as beginners because they're not heavy, these are really nice as far as just casual carry because they don't take up a lot of space. But, whoo, that was just a bad throw. But as far as throwing these into this specific type of target, you're not gonna get a lot of sticks in my experience, and that's at least what I'm seeing here today. Now, I wasn't really able to get these guys to stick in very seamlessly, and I'm not a noob at throwing, I'm not a beginner, but I'm definitely not some super advanced guy, so I'm kind of in the middle. And so if you find yourself in the middle, being casually able to throw some knives and not having the experience of a competitor or something like that, but being able to casually throw knives, you're gonna be able to get these to stick consistently into a different type of target. my rubbery target is not great for these lightweight knives. Now, if you had a styrofoam target or a wooden target, that would do much better as far as handling these guys, as long as you can rotate them correctly, because controlling the rotation on these guys, super easy. Finding out your spin, really nice and a pleasant experience. It's just the specific mat that I'm using that makes it a little bit harder to stick for these guys specifically. And to be quite honest with you, this kind of mat is being rubbery is one of the hardest type of things to stick into. It's much easier to stick into almost anything else other than that. So just keep that in mind when considering these guys over the other knives we've shown today.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you stayed this long, please comment your favorite KarateMart weapon that you either own or the KarateMart weapon that you've seen me review on the channel. I would love to know what your favorite one is. And guys, I am trying to listen as much as I can. I'm going through your comments and making fixes and changes as you guys suggest them. So if you have any suggestions that you would think would work well for these KarateMart videos that I do, and certain things that you want to see or certain things you want me to do better or do differently, please let me know respectfully in the comments below. I know Kyle did amazing videos that you guys loved, and so I'm just trying to fill his shoes the best I can. And of course, if you want to keep track of me, I am Modern Ninja on pretty much all social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. So if you want to follow me and learn more about me, by all means, check me out. But regardless, I'll see you guys Weapons Wednesday.